Welcome, Team Encore. We've got an exciting guest here today, Al Geiberger, Mr.59. Give you a little bio on Al. He turned pro in 1959 and joined the PGA Tour in 1960. He won 11 tournaments on the PGA Tour, first being in the 1962 Ontario Open, and the biggest being the 1966 PGA Championship, a major title. He won the Tournament Players Championship in 1975 and played on the Ryder Cup teams in 67 and 75. Geiberger also won 10 times on the Senior PGA Tour, now called the Champions Tour. He is famous for breaking 60 with his round of 59, the Danny Thomas Memphis Classic in 1977. Welcome on the show, Al Geiberger.
Thank you, Steve. It's nice to be on.
Where are you calling in from, Al?
Actually, La Quinta, California.
Palm Springs,
I got
right?
a little goatee going because of the shelter in place thing. And so it's kind of fun to get ready for your show. It gave me something to do other than taking care of. We have several dogs. So one of my big problems is keeping the dogs from interfering with our taping here. And my wife, by the way, she's in bed. She's starting to get around now. She had a knee replacement the day before they closed the hospital for any surgeries. And so she's just getting around from a knee replacement. So I'm doing nursing duties and dog duties and whatever else. Try and keep the house clean.
I'm glad you're healthy and your wife is healthy. And who are the gentlemen behind you in that photo?
The one up here is I have 4 sons, and you know John, and you've met maybe a few of the others, but I was going to use that as a little thing of how great it is for a junior golfer to play golf, because going out and playing with his dad or even his mother or whatever, I played with my mother even too, and some of my greatest memories were playing with my dad. So this was when we had all 5 of us together at Pebble Beach about 2 years ago, and we got to play together. So that's a special moment because everybody's going every direction now.
Very, very cool. Well, Al, you're famous for breaking 60, and you really showed the world and fellow tour players that shooting in the 50s was possible. and it was certainly a historic moment for golf and something that has relevance in today's game. And so I'm excited to really dig into that round. And the first question I want to ask you, if you had to boil your record-breaking round of 59 down to 3 key things that made it possible, what would they be and why?
Well, I probably really don't know what made it possible, but one thing that people don't believe, it was 103 that day in Memphis, Tennessee, with high humidity. So it was a miserable day. And it's almost like you're playing golf with the flu. And it's the same feeling. You're just taking one step at a time. You're trying to get through the day and survive. So that's really what I was thinking about when I walked out to the course that day was to survive the heat. And I think what that did, I didn't realize at the time that you don't care about the score you shoot. You're thinking more in the survival mode. And I just play my way, and the round evolved, and I started making a lot of birdies and eagle in the middle of the round, and it just evolved into the 59. But I was really the heat was I think actually a blessing in disguise. I was miserable in the heat, but it actually helped me. That's why they say look out for a sick golfer. Another thing that I know helped me was usually in playing golf, if you can find something, your putting is, you find a little tip on your putting, you putt good, usually you can't hit the ball good. So usually you have one going up and the other goes down. Well, I found something in my golf swing, helping one of my sons the week before on my golf swing, and found something on my putting because I was putting terrible 2 weeks before, and just 2 cuts in a row. Went home for the week. And I found a little thing on my aiming, have a tendency to aim right. I started aiming a little left, so I was probably aiming square, but I thought I was aiming left, and all of a sudden I started putting. Well, both of these, hitting the ball better and better. So I got there, I felt good. The week started, I hit it better and better, and the putting was getting better. And that day out on the course, both of them were clicking together, and I started to actually feel invincible, like I would never miss a shot again. That was, and it's like I say, you never get two things going together because then you get excited. Anyway, that was one little thing that happened because you never get the two things going hot at the same time. And
Was it around?
Yeah.
Was it around, Al, where you knew your score on every hole, or were you just kind of in the zone and didn't even realize how low you were going?
Good. I'm glad you asked that. No, I did not know my score, and that's going to be one of my tips today. Is do not count your score, because once you start counting, you hit a wall. It's hard to finish the round, no matter if you're a 100 shooter, 90 shooter, 80 shooter. So during that round, see, I birdied 1 and I birdied 3, and then parred 4 and 5, and then I walk over to the next hole. We had a wait there. Gentleman brought me out. I'm known for eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. A gentleman brought me out a peanut butter crackers because I'd seen him the night before at a Sports Illustrated cocktail party. And he said, I live right there. I'm going to bring you the best peanut butter crackers you've ever eaten, because I'm known for eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches during the round of golf. And he was right on that tee. And he had his little plate of crackers, and I ate them because there happened to be a wait. And I went birdie, 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 eagle, birdie, birdie. So who's to say that peanut butter crackers didn't help? And he totally takes full credit for it, the gentleman. I've seen him a couple of times. We looked for him last year, but he wasn't around when we were there for the sweepstakes thing. But what it gets to is nourishment on the golf course. I was the one that started carrying peanut butter and jelly sandwiches by accident on the golf course because they were easy to carry. Can't hurt a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And they were handy in your bag. And it kept my blood sugar level high because I have a tendency to get low blood sugar. And this was way back, remember, in the 1965 is when I figured this out. And what it does, it keeps your blood sugar level higher and you don't run out of gas later in the round. And so there's a reason why I'm the peanut butter kid. I worked for Skippy Peanut Butter for a number of years, and we do junior clinics and corporate with their Best Foods, which owns Skippy or did own Skippy. We'd entertain their customers and stuff. That was a lot of fun.
Mr. Skippy was your nickname, right?
Yeah, that was one of my nicknames. Yeah.
Aside from
Skippy, right? That was a lot of fun.
Well,
I got
certainly
to understand a little bit about what the grocery business was like, and entertaining customers and they were doing a little business out on the course, you might say. And that was a lot of fun having that. And there's all the players on the tour eat during the round now, and I feel like I was responsible. It all happened. This is kind of a cute story. The year 1965, I was playing a PGA Championship for Laurel Valley, Pennsylvania, and I was paired with Arnold Palmer. Now that's his hometown, and I'm going, oh my gosh! And my wife then was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my little daughter, who is now 55 years old. She was this little girl, which I have the picture somewhere of her making the sandwich, and they made this. I said, make me one of those. I'll put it in my bag because I'll never be able to get near a refreshment stand with Arnold out there. And I ate, half the sandwich on the front 9, half on the back 9. And I went, wow, this really works great. And I go on to the next tournament, the American Golf Classic in Firestone, Ohio. And I won that tournament by 4 shots, and the press picked up on the fact that I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they made the biggest deal about it. And then we came back the following year for the PGA Championship at Firestone, same thing, and they were ready for me. They had cameras on me when I'd pull my sandwich for real out of the bag, nothing set up, and that got it all started. And I know it's like Gary Player, Bob Charles, Dave Hill, several, Mike Hill, they all carry peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Why? Because it's the easiest thing to carry. It can be 3 days old, you can still eat it. No other sandwich you can do that. Your caddy can sit on the bag and smash the sandwich, it's still edible. There's still nothing better.
Absolutely. You were certainly a pioneer in thinking about nutrition at a time where I'm sure for most golfers, even professional golfers, it really wasn't top of mind. And you've kind of touched on a few of these points, but for the golfers listening at home, kind of lessons can they learn from your record-breaking round that can help their games when they go out there and try to play their best?
Well, no matter how bad you're playing, if you find some little thing where you start to hit the ball better, you get excited. And it's that little excitement that pops up in there. And all of a sudden you feel like, wow, I got it. Well, we know better. It goes away in like 2 weeks. It's probably the maximum. And that's one thing. That's why we're always tinkering with our game, stuff like that. But the main thing is, no matter, like I said it earlier, if you're a 100 shooter, a 90 shooter, 80, and that's your lowest score you ever shot, and you have a chance to shoot lower, don't count your score, because mentally you almost hit a wall then. It's really hard to get by that when you're counting your score. Just you're playing good play. Put the numbers down and try and not pay attention to how you're doing. I know it's hard to do sometimes, but and when I tell the 59 story, people, if they ask me, how were you at the 11th hole? Right now, I couldn't tell you how many under. And so I really did not pay attention because I couldn't. It's kind of like having a bad round of golf, a miserable round of golf. And somebody said, how many over par are you? And you say, I have no idea. Well, that's the same I was that day. I was so many under par, I had no idea. I just kept playing. I had a big fish on the line, you might say, and I just kept playing. Now the gallery started yelling 59 with 3 holes to play. So, but I didn't know 59 was the record. So
whose record was that you broke?
There were several that had 60. Mike Suchak, Al Brosh. There were Sam Snead had one. There were about 4 or 5 or 6, but I didn't even realize that it was the record. And I tell people stupidity helps you at great moments of crisis, because I wasn't even aware that it was the record, which is good. I just knew I had a great round going. And that's enough pressure right there.
Well, I
think
if
you start to feel invincible, like you're never going to miss a shot again, I think I've only felt that once or twice in my whole career. And that was one of them where I thought, you know what, I'll never miss a shot again. Wow, I didn't. And I totally believed it. And if you believe it, you won't.
I think that
2 weeks later, 14 days later, I shot 81 of Western Open. That shows you how short-lived it is. So I shot, in 14 days, I shot in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s in 14 days.
It's an amazing sport, right? The volatility of our golf games. And I think that's good advice, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners have had rounds where they were excited, they were playing well, and they got hung up on the score they were going to shoot. And you know, it was downhill from there. I can think of a round last summer with a friend, and he made a point of letting us know on the 18th tee box that he was going to shoot his best round. And of course, on 18, he, you know, hits the worst drive of the day and ends up with a triple bogey. He still had a phenomenal round, but you can't help but wonder if him acknowledging the fact that he was on pace to have his best round before we finished the last hole.
Yeah, it was
kind of got in his head.
He just knew it. Don't tell everybody either. You don't want to sit and talk about it. That's not good either. But that's it's hard not to look at the scoreboard or something like that. But remember, it was so hot. I was kind of in a fog. I drifted into a trance. I wasn't paying attention to the score because, like I say, now I can't. I have to go back and count systematically to figure out how many I was under par at each hole. So there's no way I could have done it that day because the 59 kind of evolved because I was like 2 under those first 5 holes, and then I went 8 under the next 7 holes, and that just plants you on, into the zone. I've had writers and people call me, and they're talking about what the zone is and how you get into it. I don't know if there's any magical way you play your way into it. I can do a great comparison, though. I mentioned it earlier. It's like having a bad round on the tour, and you get bogey after bogey, double bogey, triple, and it just keeps getting worse. And you try and settle yourself down, and you can't. You just keep getting worse and worse. It's the same thing. So a negative zone is just like an upper zone. There, it's very much the same.
I'm sure a lot of us out there can relate to the latter, maybe not so much the former, but we're hoping we can unlock some of your secrets there and hit some new lows out there. So you've had really an incredible career, Al, and played in Ryder Cups, major championships, and including having won the PGA Championship. Can you tell us some of your favorite stories from being out on tour?
My wife reminded me of this, what my favorite story. And it was playing with, I'm going to tell the Arnold Palmer one, because we all know how much respect everybody had for Arnold Palmer. Now, this is back in his, let's see, it would be in the middle 90s, 95 to 2000, right in there. I think I was paired with Arnold in Philadelphia. And the reason why is he shot a high first round. I did too. And so that's how the senior tour pairs you by score. So I ended up playing with Arnold the second day. Turned out we both shot bad rounds that day, and we both ended up playing together again. So I had 2 days. But what I'm getting at is one, at 7:30 in the morning, we were the first group off. How many people came out to watch Arnold play, even though he had shot 77, 78, and things like that? They were out there lining the fairways, 10 people deep. I couldn't believe it. I was just in amazement. They'd cheer every step. He'd hit a drive, they'd cheer. He'd walk off a tee, they'd cheer. He'd go to the restroom. He'd walk out of the restroom, they'd cheer. It was all day. I was sitting back in awe. For 2 days, I got to watch this. Well, here's where I get to the story. Second day that we played together, we're on the 17th hole, and it's hot and humid. It's summertime. Par 3, water in front, and the grandstands are built real high. They sort of cover the green almost, and it's this par 3, and we hit up on the green there, and Arnold had about a 35-footer, and he rolls it down there, and he's pretty disgusted. He's had a bad day, and he's tired, fighting the galleries, and he's sweating, and he's tired, and he walks down there to his 5-foot putt, and he said, "Here, I'll put it out. I'll do it." And he knocks it in, and they all cheer. Now, here's where here's the joke. He walks back over, and I'm standing in line. My caddy's on my left over here. Arnold walks over and stands to the right, and he lets a great big rapper fart. I mean, the loudest one you've ever heard. Now, the grandstands are full right behind. They all had to hear it. Arnold quickly turns and points at my caddy like, "You did that." And we laughed so hard because he quickly put the blame on my caddy. And we've had the biggest, if you could just picture it, because the people in grandstands, they were close. They were right there. They had to hear it. It was a rapper too.
Oh man. So good times, right?
Yeah, that was another thing. A good time on the tour, a story people don't realize. I might as well give you this one. Dave Stockton came on the tour, and I didn't know Dave till he came on the tour, and our coach at USC said, "Take care of Dave. I don't know if he's going to make it on the tour, but, he thinks he's going to make it. Take care of it. So he and I became friends. That's when Dave and I became friends after he got out of college. So Dave's a very positive guy and very energetic. And the CBS Golf Classic was coming up. And I'm not sure, it wasn't the first year, it would be the second year Dave was on tour. And the CBS Golf Classic, that used to be a show televised, two partners. We played best ball, and we wore microphones, and they could hear us talk. And they would film it all in a 2-week period, but they would show it over the winter weekends for people. And people loved the CBS Golf Classic. I've never seen it on TV since. I don't know where the tapes are or anything. But Dave won the Colonial his second year. And he said, that'll get me in the CBS Golf Classic. Al, you're going to play with me, right? Well, we're playing at Firestone. Firestone is where I won the PGA and the American Golf Classic. That's my golf course. I know how to play Firestone. It's been very good to me. And they were taking him to Firestone, and they said, other players, so you're taking Dave Stockton? And I go, oh yeah, that's my secret weapon. That's what I told her. That's my secret weapon. Really, I was just, demanding Dave made me play with him in the CBS Golf. I told Frank Shirkinian, the director, he came over to me, he said, you sure you want to play with Dave in the CBS Golf Classic? I said, oh yeah, we're okay. I knew it, but David forced me into it. Well, now Dave, we get to the matches. Dave signs up and plays in a tournament in Ireland the week before. And we're the first match of the series. Dave finishes playing the day before in Ireland. Now I'm thinking I'm really stupid for having Dave on my team. He has to fly over, get there, get out to the first tee. Didn't have practice round or anything. And I thought, oh boy, if we're gonna get through this first round, I'm gonna have to carry Dave. Well, it turns out Dave was so pumped up. He carried us. He holed putts from everywhere, and we won that first round. The next round, he kind of hit bottom, and I holed putts for everywhere. But turned out we won that 2 years in a row. We won the whole CBS Golf Classic, beating 4 teams each year, every day, 2 years in a row, and we lost in the semifinals the last round. And Dave is such a great putter that I didn't realize that he'd have a 40-footer or 50-footer the team we're playing against thought he might hold the putt. And that scares him right there. And I just felt like I had the guns of Navarone on my side. I was so happy. And all these people had criticized me for picking Dave to play as my partner. And we won 2 years in a row and lost in the semis the final year. That was a great story. Dave and I kid about that a lot.
Was Dave also in the tournament with you when you shot 59?
That's a loaded question. Definitely. Dave and I were playing together with Jerry McGee, and Dave kept my score. So if you look on the scorecard, the official scorecard, you'll see Dave Stockton's signature on there. Well, Dave had a terrible day that day. And, when you have a bad round on the tour, you want to, just go on to the next tournament, forget the last one. Well, that's a round of golf, Dave. He had a bad day, and he shot 77. I shot 59, and I beat him by 18 shots. This is Dave saying it to his wife. He beat me by 18 shots. Very negative. And the problem is, every time the story is told, hey, Dave, you played with Al when he shot the 59. Oh, yeah, here it comes again. Oh, no. And then they say, oh, by the way, what did you shoot? And that's a score that will not go away with him. He and I, when we speak together at a banquet or something, we have more fun with that because we're kind of like two opposites up there. And Dave will never live that round. The bad round will never go away. It's right there in writing.
He probably wasn't the only one that lost you out there that day. Back up in the corner is
a picture of my 59 up here on the wall. That's me holding up the scorecard with a hot sweaty. My hat's all crooked. But if you were to look close at that, you'd see Dave Stockton's signature on there. And so we've had a lot of fun with that.
That looks familiar, my background?
Oh, the golf ball. Yay. Yeah, you guys at Encore were great. You printed up this golf ball with my 59 scorecard printed on it. And I love giving those away whenever the time is right, and I sign them. I sign it too small so I don't overdo the scorecard too much. And that they printed the scorecard. Spalding started doing that for me way back in the early 70s. Let's see, right about 79, right in there they started doing it, and we've carried on from there. And you guys at Encore have done the best job. It's bigger and more legible. Some of the early ones, they were decals and they were crooked and everything. But I had a lot of fun with that scorecard because that record held on. Nobody even tied it for like 14 years. And then it took another 7 or 8 years when David Duvall shot another one. So it's so great that a record is held up for so long. And now they shoot it right and left.
Well, you were certainly
Mr. 59. It's original 59.
The original 59. Certainly the trailblazer that made it all possible. For listeners just joining us, we've got Al Geiberger here, the original 59. And Al, I want to ask you for junior golfers, up and coming players entering the game. What advice do you have for them?
Well, the best advice is enter the game. You know, hopefully you have a dad or mother or somebody or brothers or something that introduce you to the game. That's how every player on the tour usually has somebody that got them started. And most of the time it was a dad. The dad got the son out there. And no matter how good you want to be, just get introduced young, get some good fundamentals, good grip, good posture. Keep your swing simple, because that early swing you learn a lot of times will stay with you, even if it's a bad swing. So I shudder when I see these bad kid swings because I know they're grooving it. But what I'm getting at is if you ask just about every player on the tour, some of their greatest moments were back when they were kids playing with their dad. And like I was up here playing with my kids in this picture up above me. And I look back playing with my dad. Those are the memories that stick in your mind. But one thing kids don't realize, they have great mimic. They can mimic anything because when you're small, you can visually copy things. So my advice would be go on YouTube. Now you have YouTube. Look on there and find some good golf swings and watch them over and over, and you'll be able to copy that golf swing. One of my sons, Brent, who did very well on the tour, he's not a technical guy on the golf swing. He's a copier, a mimicker. He can mimic anything and copy it, and he became a great player. Won twice on the tour, did very well out there. And in fact, he did so well he doesn't want to go out and travel anymore. But that's one advice. And the thing is, start the game as when you have an opportunity to start it, because golf is forever. You play all your other sports, keep playing them. They're going to eventually go away in most cases. So golf will be the final one waiting in line for you. I go back to my USC days. That's, 60 years ago, almost 59, 60 years ago. And my fraternity, we had a lot of great athletes in there, all American football players, the McKeever twins, Chuck Biddick, who was the Olympic gold medal, water polo and butterfly, and a lot of great athletes, trackmen, everything. And they realized they were coming to their senior year, and I was this golfer in the fraternity, and they started asking me. So I started giving them all lessons in the parking lot. I didn't realize what I was accomplishing, but I can't believe the number of those guys that are still, a lot of them have passed on, but that still are playing golf. And I got them started in the fraternity. And they're golf nuts now. So if you could just get that message across to kids that golf is going to be with you forever. I don't play a lot now, but I still work on my golf swing. It's in my system. I want to keep improving my golf swing, or learn what I didn't know before, or what I was naturally doing well. I must have been doing something good. Uh, I keep trying to figure it out. It gives me something to do. You
Well,
know, they have better video cameras and computers and TrackMan and all that stuff. I grew up where we just had, you know, whatever you saw, you copied, or what you heard. There was good information, bad information, whatever.
so
But anything is for juniors to get into golf. I have a friend here in town. I'm pointing that way because I live right up that way. I started his mother and dad in golf about 12 years ago. And I started with basic lessons, and they're coming along, they're golf nuts, the two of them. And then their son has come along. He's about 12 or 13 now, but he's a great athlete. And I played golf with him one day, and I went, oh my goodness, this kid is really good. He has a great golf swing, great putting stroke, but he also is a great soccer player, great baseball player, great football player, all these other sports. So he didn't have too much time for golf. And I told him, I said, you have a great game. Play all your other sports. But stay in touch with golf, you know, because it will be there. Now we have a lot of players on tour. You know, look at Dustin Johnson. There are a lot of great athletes have come out on play golf now. It's or when they're done with their professional career, they start playing golf. It's really, an athlete wants to compete, wants to play. And, that's my experience in the fraternity, though, is how many
yeah,
of those guys that I taught, not knowing that that's what I was doing, play golf, are still playing, and they love it.
well, you mentioned golf being a game for a lifetime. What advice would you have for golfers who are playing the game later in life and wanting to still, you
I
know,
mean, like me.
compete and kind of have that longevity, because it is a sport you can play for life.
What happens as we get older? We get less and less flexible, and then our faults start to show up more and more, and then you get discouraged. When you're a senior, you get discouraged, and a lot of them quit. Sometimes ailments, but a lot of times their swing was so bad they got away with it when they were young, and so they get discouraged. And that's why I'm excited, because I keep trying to learn new things. One thing I recommend, there's a system of teaching called Stack and Tilt. It's kind of a funny name, but it's so simple. It's like 10 words: weight forward, hands forward, shoulder down. You know, it's so simple, you can repeat it like that. And what seniors did in my days, I grew up there, that we all were always taught, shift to your right foot and then back to your left foot, or go to your back foot and then you go to your front foot. Well, no, that doesn't really happen. If you do, you're going to run into trouble later as you get older, because you get older, you go to the back foot, you don't return, then you start falling back and hitting them fat and everything. So one, I recognize the Stack and Tilt system. In fact, I told Mike Bennett and Andy Plummer, the ones who designed it or who put it all together, I said, you should call it Stack and Tilt for seniors, because it really is going to help. One thing is that you put your weight on your left side and keep it there. You don't transfer to the left side. That way you can turn easier. If you move over here, all of a sudden, see, I'm blocked. I can't turn. So then I raise up, and then you see older players moving around like that. Well, Stack and Tilt will help you turn and get some of your flexibility and fight the stiffness that you have and lack of flexibility. I recommend that. Now, another thing, have you heard about my CyberVision tape?
Yes, I have.
1980, I was called, or 1979, I was called by a company, and they have a company called CyberVision, and they wanted to use me as the example for their CyberVision tape. And really what it is, I said, well, what do you want me to say and all that stuff? And they said, nothing. We just want to film your swing, and we'll show. And the mind copies, that's where the mimicking comes in. Finally, they had to explain it to me about 6 or 7 times. When I finally get it, they said, look at little kids. They have the ability to copy because their brains are wide open. they can copy it, mimic it. And so they made this tape called Cybervision. And I still have people that come to me and said, my dad made me watch Cybervision over and over. And it's the golf swing done different angles, different speeds with music. It's sort of a little hypnotic, but you watch it over and pretty soon the picture of that swing sticks in your mind. And I was lucky. They asked me to be the model for it. And I have people, now they're all getting pretty old, but kids say, oh, I was raised on your tape. My dad made me watch it. And and they say they used it. I still use it. And a lot of them say the only trouble is my tape broke and all that stuff. But they do have it in DVD. You can still find it. You can find anything. You can Google it. Cybervision.
Here you are. We lost your video feed for a second there, Al. But
I was going to say a phone call came in. Did that?
Okay, it's all good.
What did you miss?
We heard you. We just couldn't see you. But definitely appreciate the advice there and the ability to visualize and learn from watching others.
You had my son John on, and he talked about when you're not playing, visualize. And I learned way back somewhere they were talking about, say, a basketball player shooting free throws. They had so many of them shoot imaginary shooting, visualizing shooting free throws, visualizing, laying on the bed, visualizing. And then they had those that actually shot them. And the ones that actually practiced shooting and the one that didn't do much different than the ones that visualized it, because when you visualize, you can always do it right and you never miss. If you're missing, that means you're really having a bad day. But John mentioned the visualization, and I, like John said, I used to lay in bed the night before. I would go off on the first tee and I would picture my standing there and visualize my swing and the ball and how I was going to cut it down the fairway. And it's amazing how it does work. I usually get to about third hole and fall asleep, but you can visualize when you watch things over and over, good or bad, your mind copies it. So watch good things. Watch YouTube. Now you have access to all kinds of swings on there, and
absolutely,
it's a great way to learn.
I'm curious, is score, is what you shoot out there still important to you?
Yes and no. One, I'm happy just to get out and play.
Sure.
Get enough ailments out. Or the summertime, and now it's getting hot. Now we haven't been able to play for months. My wife with her problem with her leg, and I haven't been able to play. Then the virus thing, and now it's like 105 today already. It's getting hot out here, and I can't play in the heat. I can't handle the heat anymore, like I did with the 59. I would collapse. But I still try and play as good as I can. I'm still always working on my swing. It seems like, why? What's the purpose? Oh, I'm still trying to learn. That's why stock and tilt is good, because it gives you little things to work on, and it's not very complicated. If it was complicated, I would not recommend it at all. You can find one little part. In fact, they say, just pick one part and work on that, and then pick another part. And they only have 5 or 6 parts. So it's really very, very simple. And I like to go out anyway to answer your question. I'm 82, so definitely I want to break my age. If I don't break my age, I've had a bad day. I'm very upset. But I don't write the scorecard. I always just keep it in my mind. But people write scorecard, like, why are you writing the score down? But I kind of know how I'm doing. And all I do is, especially when it really got tough trying to break your age when you were 66, 7, 68. That's the real challenge. Now I got a lot of 82. Wow, I'm closing in on 83 by the end of the summer. I would be very upset if I didn't break my age. So I am aware of it. I don't just go out there and swing at it.
Yeah,
I do enjoy the fact that I can go out there and hit some good. I appreciate what a good shot is. And still working on my swing, and And then I like to help people too, because I see a lot of older people. You talked about seniors. I can help them so quick as a stack and tilt. I can just say, okay, look where your weight is. You're behind the ball. You're on your right side. So I put them on their left side and get them centered over the ball, and then they can start turning more. And that's not all of it, but that's just a few pieces. They teach you little things you never knew before, and so it's kind of fun utilizing that and carrying it on to other people. I like to help other people with golf. In fact, when I'm paid to give a lesson, I don't feel like I do a very good job. I do my best golf lessons in the drugstore, waiting in line, or in the grocery store, or in the parking lot. I've sat in the parking lot for a half hour helping a guy. You know, as long as they want to learn, I'll start showing them information, because I like doing that.
Well, I'm sure those folks appreciate a free lesson from Mr. 59. For listeners just joining us, we've got Al Geiberger here, and feel free to leave your questions below for Al. Al, we're winding down the interview here. Wanted to ask you a few more questions. What would you say, with today's tour players, their most important attributes are to be successful out there, and how has it maybe changed since you were playing on tour?
Well, one, they're sure making a lot more money now, so it's a little more money driven. We were struggling, $100 a week, or, we'd fight for anything. If you listen to Gary Player, he used to say, I played hard as I could, because I may only win $50 or $100. I may finish near last, but I may find something in my golf swing. And I've always remembered Gary saying it, because that's true. Once you give up, then you're going to play bad and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm getting back to was we had a lot of good athletes out there. I look back, we got a Hale Irwin. He was a great football player. Mike Suchak, going further back, was a great football player. So we had a lot of good athletes. Sam Snead was a wonderful athlete. A lot of good athletes like they do today. Maybe not as many as they do now. Most of the players now are all pretty good athletes. And they have the advantage of the equipment. So they're playing with totally different equipment than we played with. Well, let's go to the golf ball, the solid golf ball. I was with Spalding in 1972. I was signed with them in 1960, but in 1972, they invented the solid ball that Encore uses. Everybody uses a solid ball. There's no more wound balls. And I was with them. A guy named Bob Molitar invented the solid ball, and they called it Top Flight. And we called it Top Rock, because it was hard as a rock, and you couldn't cut it. And they sold millions and millions of them. And it took them many years to perfect a cover to go with the solid ball, to get the combination right, so we could play like the old wound ball. And that's why I like being with Encore, because you guys have taken it even further. You've got that's why when I gave one ball to Chuck Schwab one day, he said, I love this ball. This ball is so accommodating around the greens. Your ball is, it's a little softer, and it puts softer. It's like the feel we used to have with golf balls. It's not the hard feeling. And then I had to get Chuck some more golf balls, and he was on his way. He was hooked. And he loves that golf ball. And so I went to that period of time in there of the hard ball being invented. That was a great thing with Spalding. And then now I'm on board with you guys with Encore, because my son introduced me to it. The golf ball, because the thing you have, and you've gone further, you have moved the weight out. Correct me if I'm a little wrong. Moved the weight out into the perimeter, so the weight is more towards the cover from the center, and you can't see it in there. It's so fine that you can expand on that if you want. But that's a great thing. And the ball is fantastic. I love giving a sample to people, like I did Chuck. All I have to do is give them one, and then they come begging for them.
Yeah, that was pretty cool story when you let us know that you had played with Charles Schwab, your good friend, and that you got him hooked on the Encore Elixir ball, and we are forever indebted for you for that, because Charles, Mr. Schwab, has been a huge advocate for Encore, and certainly someone
Yeah,
that
I was so
we're,
surprised. I didn't try and sell Chuck on the ball. He said, "What ball you?" And I said, "Oh, well, this Encore. My son's with it. It's a nice ball. It's a great ball. I love it." And I only had two on me at that time. I gave him one. He played 8 holes. Afterwards, he said, "That's the best ball I've ever played." Now, Chuck could afford any golf ball. Yeah. He swears by the Encore golf ball, as you know.
yeah,
He loves it. Chuck and I I moved to Santa Barbara from Sacramento when I was 15 years old. And I went to Santa Barbara High School. And the golf team there, we formed a golf team. They didn't have one when I got there, but we had all these good players that played at the local club, and we were all in Santa Barbara High School, and Chuck was one of them. So he was third man on our high school golf team. We had a good golf team. He was my best friend in high school. We'd share, if I had the car one day, we'd go to Montecito Country Club to play, or if he had the car, or his mother was, I would go to his house, and I was the kid that his mother was always feeding, after school or something. But we were just good friends. And Chuck went to Stanford after Santa Barbara High. I went to Menlo Junior College for 2 years. And then I went on to USC. And then I saw he was starting this company. I'm like, what? That's Chuck Schwab on the TV. That's not Chucky, baby. That's my friend Chuck. He was really my closest friend in high school. So we've been getting the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've been getting back together and seeing each other at least once or twice a year.
yeah, it's amazing. Two high school friends in Santa Barbara, and the fascinating careers you both have went on to have. One last question, Al, for our listeners. What is something they would be surprised to learn about you?
Wow, let's see. I'll bet a good one is, I had intestinal problems in the late 70s, and they got a little worse, different problems closer to the age. And in 1980, I had emergency surgery in Vail, and I had an ostomy. And by the time they got me home to Santa Barbara, they said my colon was so bad, filled with polyps, and it was just a mess, that they're going to remove my colon. So I don't have a colon. I wear an appliance, a bag, collar. And you think that's the end of your golf, and it's not at all. The appliances are so good. And there's another thing. I was with the Top Flight golf ball when it was invented, with Encore, the new golf ball, how they've invented it. I was with, there was a new bag. The old bags you wore, people didn't even want to live after, because the bags were so bad. This company, Squib, invented a bag that was so streamlined, so simple, and they formed a whole new division. They call it Conditech, and they started the whole product, took over the whole market. It was amazing. And we talked them into hiring Rolf Bernurschke. Now, Rolf Bernurschke was the kicker for the Chargers. They idolized him in San Diego, and he had the same thing. And so we met at a convention, you might say, and he also wore an appliance, a bag. And so we talked about it, and then we'd go to a few ostomy conventions, and then we said, that we both were wearing the same appliance, and it was so good. It was so far ahead of anybody. They had changed the whole market. And so we got them to talk them into signing us. They took them a while, and I said, look, if he's playing football and I'm playing golf in front of thousands of people, anybody that's facing that surgery knows it can't be quite that bad. And so we worked for him for quite a few years, and that was a lot of fun, because I love sitting and talking to people that are afraid of the surgery, afraid of wearing the appliance, and we can talk about it. For Convatec, I used to go to ostomy conventions. And I remember the funniest feeling was sitting at a table with 10 or 12 people around the table. And we talk a little ostomy problems, you might say, but most of them wanted to talk golf and get golf tips. And it was such an interesting combination. And when somebody's facing ostomy surgery, or their colon's going to be removed or something like that, the first thing they want to know is how long before I can play golf. And I love talking to people. Somebody will hear this tape, hear our interview, and they'll say, oh, my friend is facing that surgery. They'll call me, or they'll call you, you'll call me, and I'll call the person that's going to have the surgery and explain the whole thing to them. And it's really kind of fun. It's kind of instead of teaching golf all the time, I'm helping people that face ostomy surgery. And because it's really, it's almost like a doctor told me, it's almost better than, it works better than it does with a colon. We don't need the colon. I didn't know it at the time. I was pretty down. I thought my career was over. Wasn't going to play any more golf. Well, I'm still alive. Okay, I'll take that. And let's go on from there. And little did I know, that's been 1980. That's almost 40 years ago. I've been wearing an appliance, playing golf in front of all those crowds. Nothing helps a person quicker than seeing somebody wearing it. They don't know where it is. They don't see it. And they know that they wear the appliance. So, it actually keeps you healthier because your system works a little better. Now we're getting a little technical, but many of our aches and pains come out of our colon. I don't recommend the surgery, but I do have an ostomy, and I've had it for 40 years now, 39 years.
It's incredible that you've taken an obstacle and turned it into a positive and a vehicle to help others in need. So it was a real pleasure having you on, Al, and thank you so much for your time. It was an honor to talk to you about your record 59 rounds and your illustrious career. And thank you for all you do for golf, and appreciate you being on today.
Well, there's not much happening now, so it's a perfect time. I've looked forward to this interview because, as you can see, I like to talk to people about golf. I like to help people. I guess I'm a natural teacher a little bit, so I like to help people with their golf swing. You know, it's a challenge for me, and that's the beauty of golf is that it's there with you forever. And as long as you're going to play, keep trying to improve. And that's why I recommended the system that I did, Stack and Tilt, because it will help you get by all those bad faults you grooved when you were a kid or coming up through, and then you get old, they come up and haunt you. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really having a lot of fun with Encore because I love having some. I give a ball to somebody or a couple balls to people, and then the fun is when they come back to me. I had no idea. I really thought that wouldn't be very good. I love that golf ball. I love it. It's fantastic. And the price is right. And you know what I like are the colored ones, the green and the yellow. I'm playing the yellow ball. And the nice thing I tell people, I say, here, look at the ball. What's it feel like? And they say, it feels good. It feels like quality. And I say, right, it is quality. So you can tell when you grab a ball, the logo's not very good, doesn't feel good. The Encore ball elixir feels good, looks good, and it's quality. And that's what's fun about the company is people discovering the ball and finally believing that it is a good ball.
Great. Feels like quality. I love the tagline, and certainly a quality interview here with you, Mr. Geiberger. Thank you for being on the show, and we will talk to you soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoyed being on.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.